This is JKEK and this is my Chapter 11 project. In this project, I started with a audio recording of me blowing across a glass bottle. If you notice in this recording, I didn't get a pitch, and then I was able to produce a pitch on that glass bottle, and that was able to give me a good amount of material I could play with. For example, I could just loop some of that shh sound I got as I failed to get a pitch on some of that. Now, I started with a simpler and I pulled that clip down into here. I had to repitch it, so I used some tuners and this spectrum to find what the pitch actually was and adjust that in the simpler, put it in a C minor chord for my pitch material, and put some panning on this as well. I used this simpler with just a one shot, but I also got it in another version here where it's looped, so that gives me a little bit different material to use with my MIDI clips. Now the wavetable is pretty cool because I was able to take the same audio sample, zoom up really far, and just chop out a little bit here so that I was looking much more at a smaller piece and gave me a more fine pitch material I could work with. Now this ML granulator here is a max patch I was able to download off the internet. It does a lot of things the simpler does, but it gives me a little more control as I'm able to adjust the grain and a few other features here. I was able to repitch it as well. I did put on this dynamic tube just to adjust the sound as well to make it a little more grainy. Now this granulated siren, I wanted the spread on the grain to be able to be adjusted with a LFO. And so that's what this LFO for all things max patch, which I built following the directions from the chapter example, to adjust the grain speed based on the frequency of that LFO. I also wanted to use the simpler a little bit. I liked how the simpler allowed me to take the sample, and I can have this playing both forward and backwards, which is pretty cool. But I could also adjust the envelope to really control the attack and the sustain and the release of it. And this modulation option here lets me run an LFO to adjust the sound as well. Now the impulse drum, I used three audio clips, which are just segments of my original audio file. And to start, this first one's a little more of a plosive p sound that starts the sound across the bottle, and I use that for the kick drum. Some of that shh sound I use for the snare drum, adjust the attack. And I also pitched that similar sound up a little bit for more of a snare sound. Now, I was able to record my entire piece using those MIDI clips. And here is the entire work. I hope you enjoy it.